All right, TG Sheppard, Miss Payton, glad that y'all came, and look forward to just having a conversation with y'all.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
That's what it is.
First of all, I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're making quite a mark in our business, and I always enjoy sitting and doing things like this with people who are really advancing their careers, and you're doing it rapidly, and I'm glad to be here with you.
I appreciate that. That means the world coming from you, because I've appreciated your music, and your music has been a part of my life since I was a kid.
Really?
So, oh, yeah.
Wow.
So when I was in the 7th grade, I got this bad habit of getting detention all the time. And after school detention, because I'd be tardy to class all the time, and my mom finally got tired of it. We lived a mile from the school. She said, if you keep getting after school detention, I'm just not going to pick you up anymore, and you can walk home. And this was about the time those big bricky iPods came out. Remember those?
Yep.
And I had a bunch of music that I downloaded on there. My dad would, this was in the days of LimeWire and stuff, where you
got viruses on your computer?
Yeah, you destroy a computer for music.
Yeah.
And my dad had all this country music on there, and so I had it on my iPod. I've always loved country music, but I remember walking home from school 1,000 times a day, and that's when I discovered Devil in the Bottle.
Really?
And I don't know what 12-year-old has business, just because I put it on repeat, and I would just listen to Devil in the Bottle.
Had some big feelings.
Yeah, it was the detention.
Well, let me ask you a question. What was it about that song that caught your ear to put it on repeat?
I have no idea. I mean, it's a great song,
It's like
obviously.
your most depressing song.
I guess.
It was pretty depressing. But I mean, I'm sure you weren't drinking at that age.
I guess it was the detention. I had bad habits. I really related with the guy.
Yeah, that was one of those magic songs that I tried to get everybody in the business to record that song.
Yeah.
Because I was a record promoter at that time, and every artist that I played it for said, "Nah, that's not a hit." And I've got to tell you a great story about Devil in the Bottle.
Mm-hmm.
The day that Devil in the Bottle went #1, I went to my mailbox to get my Billboard magazine to see it at #1. And I opened up the mailbox and looked at the Billboard, #1. And in the same mailbox was a little package that I had sent to a label. And I opened up the letter, and it said, "We're sorry at this time. We do not feel that this is a commercial song." So I had a rejection in one hand, and it was #1 in the nation in the other hand. So I guess you just have to stick to your guns, and if you believe in something strong enough, stay with it.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
You should have framed them together.
I
side
should
by
have.
side.
But I mean, how often, I don't know of anybody else that can tell a story like that.
No.
But I mean, a rejection and #1 in the same mailbox.
That is funny.
Pretty great.
That's a great song, though.
That is funny. Yeah, I don't know what really drew me to it at 12 or 13 years old. I guess it was the detention. I come home from school late in the day with my books in my hand.
I'm glad it was that one and not some of the
You wrote
others.
your own lyrics. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but it's great to have you, because since that age, I think is when, and then I heard that song right there. I love him. I loved him every one. Probably.
I hope you weren't relating to that
same
in 7th
time.
grade.
And no, but I listened to it and I was like, is he singing about? Wow, what I think he's singing about. Yeah, but yeah, Payton, why don't you introduce yourself to all the fine people and tell them what you do?
I'm Payton Dale, and I'm Dylan's TikTok friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how we all met was, I'm big into TikTok. I love TikTok, have since 2020. And I kept getting tagged in your videos, and everyone kept going, "Isn't this your dad? Isn't this your dad?" And I go, "Yeah, that is." So I sent it to you, and I said, "Oh, isn't this so cool?" And then I just wrote back. I was like, "Hey, that's my dad." And Dylan's got this really cool thing where it's almost like a radio show where he live streams songs every night. And someone accused me of lying about that. And I said,
about me being your dad?
Yeah, and I was like, wouldn't I lie about something cooler?
And you are.
I'd be like, wouldn't I say I don't know, I invented something cool, or I'd lie about something a little less specific? I don't know, like George Jones is Elvis is my dad. I don't know, something different. But so we all started talking, and you went and saw him somewhere.
Yeah, Ron Johnson, the concert promoter, had invited me out to your show down in McMinnville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I remember.
We met back there, which was awesome. That was a great show. Miss Kelly was there, and y'all performed together. It was
our acoustic show.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good.
We love doing those shows. Of course, I love doing them with Kelly too. But so you enjoyed the show?
Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed every bit of it. It was a great show, and Ron will see this, so thank you, Ron, for inviting me out to that. But yeah, that's how me and Payton became to know each other, and we have cut up a time or two in those TikTok lives.
Those live streams, they're pretty raunchy.
Well,
yeah, it gets there sometimes.
To say I'm proud of my daughter is an understatement. I mean, I am afforded a great luxury of having a young lady that I respect so much and love so deeply, and just happens to be my daughter. And I can't say enough good things about her. She is just a very rare individual, and makes the world a better place to be in when you're around her.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you think that having daughters was karma for that?
No. I always wanted daughters.
I know, you're very much a girl dad, but
I got a great son, Jason, but I wanted daughters, but I never got the daughters, but now I do, and man, boy, do I ever.
Dylan, I got to tell you the funniest story. So that album cover plays into this. So I'm 16 years old, and I'm home late from curfew, and he meets me at the door, bathrobe, very Tony Soprano. Payton, I know how men are. That album cover is framed behind him. So I'm talking to him, but that album cover is just right out of my frame of mind, and I just point to it. He goes, go to bed. I go, really? So that's why I ask if it's your karma to have daughters.
Well, it could be. But no, Payton is just, and now she is out drumming for, God almighty, can you believe that you're out there drumming for?
No. For Ray Wiley?
Yeah, for Ray Wiley
No.
Hubbard. Oh my God, I think that's...
Well, his drummer taught me how to play.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was, I was 13 and I thought, I want to take drum lessons. And he goes, I'll get Rick to come over and teach you. So he taught me, I had like 4 lessons, and now I do that sometimes for Ray Wiley Hubbard.
That's so cool, though. I like Ray Wiley Hubbard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Unique dude, man.
Yeah, that's awesome that you get to do that.
He has such a cult following, you know?
Yeah.
He really does. And I went to see a show when he was here at 3rd and Lindsley some time ago, and just thoroughly blown away with it. I mean, he's such a nice, down-to-earth guy, too.
Yeah, hopefully we can sit down with him when he's in town. That would be great. I would love that. But, yeah, so also, Payton, you're not only a drummer, but you're, as I call you, a fashion queen, because people may notice I'm not, when it comes to fashion, I know very little. I know a lot about country music, but I've been wearing pearl snaps and jeans and boots since I was born.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, that's my main job. That's my full-time gig. The drumming thing was on a whim. The drumming was because my husband plays for Ray Wiley Hubbard and is a real musician. Payton Dale is a real musician, and Ray was doing the Outlaw Country Cruise. And the drummer that he normally uses backed out, and the cabins were all booked up. And he goes, Tobin, do you know a drummer that you wouldn't mind sharing a room with? And he jokingly said, oh yeah, Payton. He goes, that'd be hilarious. Let's do it. And that was it. I had one rehearsal where we did 2 songs, and he goes, all right, you're in. And that was the first gig I ever had. So that's the only, I played 4 shows.
That was on the cruise ship, wasn't it?
Yeah, the cruise ship. And then I work for Blackberry Smoke. So I style them. So they're all just staring at me playing drums, going, let's see if our stylist messes up the whole time. I'm like, it's nerve-wracking. But so I do style full-time. I've been doing it since 2011. And it's music videos and photo shoots and red carpets and custom stuff, anything involving clothing and music I do. And then when COVID happened, and I joined TikTok. That was me doing the virtual styling sessions for like regular people, and that's kind of taken off on its own. So now I've got these two parts of the business that run together, which is pretty weird and cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I won't sit here and pretend to know anything about it, but
But you know it's a job now.
Yeah, it's really neat that you get to do that. And you know, I hang out a lot with, like, this whole weekend I was with Manuel, and so I've gotten kind of the inside glimpse of that life and the work that goes into it, and it's really incredible what you guys do.
Yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into it.
Well, Manuel is just one of those. He's quite an artist.
He is.
You know, I mean, if you could just take a look at some of the clothes that he's designed for stars. I mean, everyone is. He used to make my jackets.
Yeah.
You know.
And someone got rid of them.
Yeah.
Before I was old enough to wear them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine.
But I just grew out of that flash.
Yeah, you really focus more on being shirtless on your album covers
No,
instead of being clothed.
Oh gosh.
The amount of times that I get a text from one of my friends out in the wild, and it's like they're at a record store. It's never, they don't find an album of you in clothes.
I hate clothes.
Well, you've seen me make the joke time and time again that everybody says that Conway Twitty was the ladies' man of country music, and I say, no, it's TG Sheppard.
No.
Hold my beer.
Yeah.
I caught that. I caught that. You know, Conway was just one of those great guys I learned a lot from when it come to image and recording songs for the ladies, you know.
Chest hair.
He was the master at knowing what the women wanted to hear.
If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to check out our Patreon, where we're going to be giving away autographed TG Sheppard albums from the day of the podcast. We also have a lot of other exclusive content over there, including a segment of this podcast that will only be available on Patreon. So download Patreon and search up Dylan Weldon. And as always, I appreciate y'all.
And I mean, doing his shows for him, opening his shows back in the day, was like, you know, I mean, it was like an Elvis concert. The women were screaming so loud you could hardly hear him sing.
The weird thing about those shows is Mom opened for you.
Yep.
You opened for Conway.
Right. Yeah.
So I've got posters with all three of them on it, where it's like Kelly Lang and TG Sheppard and Conway Twitty, and it's just like there. It's really cool. You didn't get together till much later. It was very legal and very normal. I have to specify. You never know now.
Oh God. Yeah, but Conway was just he was just a great guy. Left us way too soon at 59, and shocked us all to death. But he left behind a great legacy of music.
Conway Twitty and TG Sheppard at the same show. I bet the women was lined up down the street. That had to be like an Elvis show.
We would sell out every night. You know, we were playing in 10, 12, and 15,000 seaters. And the Mirrorball would start going, and right before Conway came out, it was just pandemonium. I mean, it was just, but it was a great way for me to get exposure, to lay the groundwork for my career, you know. And a lot of artists opened for Conway. George Strait. I mean, there's so many of us. We all went to school on Conway, and he was a great teacher and was a very kind, quiet man, and used to love working with him and doing shows. I miss those days.
Well, another similarity between you and Conway is his legal name was Harold Jenkins. Your legal name, Bill Browder. I've heard some stories, and I don't know if they're true or not, but I've heard stories of when Conway was meeting with his team or managers or something, and they would mention something, Conway would say, I don't think Conway Twitty would like that. He was kind of talking third person. Like
he did that a lot. He really did. I know on more than one occasion I might do something that he didn't care for, and he'd walk up to me and he said, Conway didn't like that. And I go, oh, you're not Conway? And so, cause he sometimes spoke as Harold Jenkins.
Yeah.
Conway was the persona that he invented and became so successful.
Yeah, it's interesting that he treated it as a separate entity, a separate character. But good for business, though.
Oh yeah,
yes, yeah.
Do you ever do? Does he ever do that? TG doesn't like that, Payton.
No.
That would be hilarious.
No, I would call him out on that so fast. I'd be like, "Oh, okay."
I assumed the identity of TG Sheppard, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, this year we just started our 50th anniversary tour. And 50 years, I can't believe I'm still out here doing this. But enjoying it more than ever now than back then. But I have been very blessed to have had a great run for 50 years in this business. And TG Sheppard, my real name, of course, Bill Browder. I changed it when I was a record executive because I was afraid I'd lose my job at RCA. So, because I'd just been signed by Berry Gordy at Motown, who was opening up a country label in Nashville. And so I didn't want to lose my job getting a paycheck from RCA and recording for the competition. So I started recording under TG Sheppard. And, funny thing, Elvis, back in the Elvis days, he never knew that Bill Browder was TG Sheppard. And he used to sing Devil in the Bottle, top of his lungs, running around the house. And it would freak me out because I never told him that guy TG Sheppard was Bill Browder, was me. Because I didn't want to lose my job. So I hit the back door of Graceland one day, Dylan, and I heard him say, "Bill?" And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You could have told me you were that Sheppard guy singing that song on the radio that I love." I said, "Well, I couldn't tell you because I was afraid I'd lose my job at RCA." He said, "You fool. Don't you know that I am RCA?" And he was our biggest artist. Yeah. Fun days.
Ain't that true? Well, a lot of people start off. I've watched some interviews with you in the past, and a lot of people, that's where they start, is the Elvis days. But but what about before that? Where you're from and what your parents did? What kind of got you to the point of wanting to run away into the music industry?
Well, I used to be a huge fan of people like Roy Orbison, Charlie Rich, Johnny Cash, and the Beach Boys and people like that. And so I knew at a very early age that I wanted music as my life. But my dad was in construction, heavy equipment, and it was just assumed that I would follow in his footsteps and drive the bulldozers and the graders and the combines and cotton pickers. And no, I wanted to be a singer.
You can't do that in blue suede shoes.
No, you can't do that, right? So I just ran away from home at 15 and to chase the dream, and that's how I met Elvis. Was when I ran away from home. So, yeah, I come from a father that didn't want music in the house, and so I knew in order to have it, I had to leave. Yeah, that's not the way you chase a dream and catch it, but.
Don't run away from home, kids.
Don't run away from home.
TG Sheppard would not like that.
No, it wouldn't.
It did work out great for you.
It worked out good.
Do as I say, not as I do.
I was one of the lucky ones. I really was.
I think you have one of the most incredible backstories of any musician ever.
He's like Forrest Gump. Like it's weird because I'm big into rock history because I had to rebel. So I had to overcorrect and go somewhere. And I was at home one day, I was like in high school, and I'm watching a documentary on Woodstock, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I was there." What? Just like so casual. Or my talent show, my high school senior year, being the theater kid that I was, I decided the whole theater department's going to do Thriller. So I'm going to do the costumes and the makeup and choreograph it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm working on it in the living room. And he just walks in and goes, "Oh yeah, I was there the day Michael Jackson did the moonwalk for the first time." And then just walks out. Like you just drop these little bits of like, "Oh yeah, did you shoot JFK?" Like, is that no, it's just these
Payton.
little tidbits that get dropped. I'm like, "Oh, this iconic moment in history. Oh yeah, I was there." And then he's gone. Like Forrest Gump. It's the weirdest thing.
It's
no, the weirdest one. I'm not gonna get in trouble. The weirdest one was, I don't know, we were like cleaning your office out, or like there was something involving your office at home, and we were kind of like moving stuff around, And I go, what is this gun? And you go, oh, that's the gun that Elvis tried to give Nixon at the White House. This has been in our home forever. And I just never thought about it. I'm like, okay. And then he's gone.
It was a gold inlay 45, and Elvis gave it to me. And I've treasured that gun for years.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, back then, Elvis was quite the giver. I mean,
if he told me we had the Holy Grail in the basement, I'd be like, that tracks. Oh, yeah, you were there too? Of course you were.
Oh, wow.
It's the weird. What is the gold record from the Guess Who that is in the living room? What is that?
That's the Share the Land album.
Yeah.
I was in Winnipeg, Canada, and heard them in a bar. And I mentioned it to RCA, and they signed them. And the first album was Share the Land album. American Woman was the first big single.
Bus Rider and all that stuff on it. Yeah,
and so they gave me
I'm just responsible for the Guess Who. No big deal.
So they gave me a gold album for that because I more or less was involved in helping get them started. And they were a great band, a phenomenal band at the time. And I've always treasured that. I'm still hanging on the wall. It always will
wondered.
be. Yeah.
Thought I'd ask you this
Burton
way.
Cummings is still out there doing it today. I saw something the other day where he's doing some shows. But and Randy Bachman, who used to be in the Guess Who, Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
I was a friend with him.
Casual.
Before he ever became who he is today.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a great business. It's a phenomenal business to where you wind up becoming friends with some of the biggest stars in the business. And being in this business, it sounds like you're name dropping when you mention names that I know, but that's the business I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
I've been in it so long that I have been afforded a great luxury of becoming friends with some of the biggest people.
What did you think
business.
When I said I wanted to get in the music business, when I told you
that? I thought it was great.
Really?
Yeah, no. I encourage anybody to take a path into music in whatever direction, whether it's songwriting, producing, singing, or wardrobe, anything, videos, because it's a great way to make a living. It's an exciting life.
Yeah.
I can't imagine me doing anything else in my life than what I've been doing for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
You are the only father-in-law. My husband, being a full-time musician, he was always worried, like, oh, I'm going to go meet, when we first started dating, he's like, oh, I'm going to meet the girlfriend's parents. Mm-hmm. And I'm a broke musician, and they're not going to get. I go, oh, mine will. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. And on Thanksgiving, the two of them are like in the corner. And then what dates do you have coming up? And then, oh, I've played there. It's really sweet. So it's nice to have a supportive.
Well, I'm glad you're in the business.
Yeah. What else would I do?
I can't wait. Knowing you, there's no telling what you will do next, because you are capable of doing anything and everything. And you just simply amaze me. You're brilliant. And I can't believe I'm fortunate enough to have you as my daughter.
Well, it's great that y'all are so supportive of each other and everything. But I don't want to glaze past something that was just said there. Uh-huh. You were at Woodstock.
Just casual.
Yeah, I don't want to leave that casually, just let it fly by. How was that?
I was working for Stax Records at the time in Memphis, and I went up there because we had some artists on the show. Well, I can only tell you that it was a mud bath.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just...
Because you don't party. You don't drink, really. You don't do drugs. You never really did.
No. But, I mean, I had to go because we had, I think, Albert King on the show. I forget who I was on the show. B.B. King, I forget. Mm. But when I got there, it was just a train wreck. Mm. And it took forever to get there through the traffic. And when I got there, it's just the most uncomfortable day or two that I've ever spent in my life, just in the mud. I mean, people were just, it was crazy. You had to be there to see it and witness and to really know what went on. It was just wild.
That's how I imagine I'd be at Woodstock. I'm like, time to go.
Yeah.
Time to go.
I was a little out of place.
A little bit.
But, yeah, a lot. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed being there and being part of history. Again, Forrest Gump showed up at Woodstock. So
just drop it and walk out of the room.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you run away from home and you ended up in Memphis, and then the famous story of you meeting Elvis at the skating rink, y'all played a game called Kill.
Yeah.
Where it was basically football and skates.
Yeah.
Did y'all? Was it kind of like, let's give Elvis the ball? Okay, Elvis skate.
Well, Elvis was the boss, so he always won.
Yeah, I would imagine.
No, it actually was like football on skates. Elvis was just a very competitive guy. He loved to win. He loved to be the winner, and wow, what a winner he was in his life with his career in music. But anything he did, he really went all out. And whether it was on the racquetball court, which we did more than one time, or on roller skates or whatever, it was he loved to win, so we let him win.
What did you say? You said that I went through a really big Monty Python phase in high school, and I was watching it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Elvis watched that movie all the time. I know it so well." I'm like,
his favorite movie.
Once again, just I'm going through something. Oh yeah, Elvis really liked that movie.
Yeah, the Holy Grail. I mean, he could quote the dialogue in every scene.
Yeah.
I mean, he just loved that movie.
Really?
Matter of fact, on New Year's Eve, after he played the Pontiac Silverdome, and I think it was one of the first times an artist had ever been paid $1 million for a show.
Wow.
We get back on the Lisa Marie and we fly home because he wanted to get back in time to bring in the new year and watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Which is now one of my favorite movies, but not related. So it's just oh, cool. And it's kind of like I tell people when I tell them that you lived there, at Graceland, they're like, what is that like? I'm like, well, I never got to meet him, obviously. So it's like having this very strange, distant ancestor that is involved in family stories, but you never meet them. Only it's the king of rock and roll. No big deal. It's very strange.
But you know what? He never felt like the king of rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a country guy that loved what he did and felt fortunate to have succeeded. And I asked him one time, Dylan, I said, how did you get here? How did you become who you are? How did this happen for you? He said, I willed it. I said, you willed it? He said, yeah. He said, I would drive around Memphis in the old Crown electric truck because I was an apprentice electrician. And I would dream of walking out on stage and seeing thousands of people hear me sing. I would sleep it, I would drink it, I would eat it. He said, it's all I dreamed about for years. And he said, then one day I just walked out on stage and there they were.
Wow.
He said, so I willed it. So that shows the power of mind, how strong the mind really is.
Yeah.
You can make things really happen if you really believe and you work hard and you try to be the best person you can.
Yeah, that's incredible. I saw a video of Elvis going back to the King thing. I saw a video of him at a concert, and a woman was holding up a crown to give him at the edge of the stage, and he reached down and grabbed it, and she said to him something about him being the king, and he handed it back to her and said, honey, I don't want to be a king. Jesus Christ is the king. That's what he told her on the video.
Well, he was very spiritual.
He would have messed up his hair.
He would have, for sure.
He was really quite a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really was. He was a strong believer and knew the Bible and used to sit and read the Bible to me and tell me his interpretation of the Scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
And, he
Casual.
But that was instilled in him from his mom. His mom was so religious and lived in fear of something happening to him. Mm-hmm. So because him being a twin, mm-hmm. His twin brother died at birth, Jesse Guerin died, and of course his mom was so protective from then on because she had already lost one, and she didn't want to lose Elvis, But Elvis always told me, he said, I wound up with the talent of two.
Yeah.
But he's quite a unique man.
Yeah. Well, when I imagine going back to the Kill game because I'm just so intrigued by that story. Did anybody ever actually tackle Elvis?
Oh, sure. I mean, man, we got
Don't break the face.
up.
That's the moneymaker. Don't break the face.
Yeah, don't hurt that face. But no, he. I mean, it was a rough game.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't a wuss. I mean, he really wasn't, man. He would jump in there.
Could you imagine being the guy that breaks Elvis's
nose?
leg or nose? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another story. One night we were standing in the foyer of Graceland, and he loved to go into the foyer and give demonstrations, karate demonstrations. And we were standing there, and there was must have been 8 or 10 people standing around him, and he was doing his moves and stuff. And he reached down in his boot, and he handed me a Derringer. And he said, "Here, shoot me." And I said, "What do you mean, shoot you?" He said, "Take the gun and pull the trigger and shoot me." He said, "I promise you, you'll never pull the trigger." Well, I wasn't about to pull the trigger.
No.
But
Can you imagine?
I got it up, and I did it like this and just flinched like I was going to, and that gun was out of my hand. But the dangerous part was that gun could have landed on the floor and discharged and hurt somebody or killed somebody.
Yeah, talk about playing kill.
Oh, man. But he was that way. He was a daredevil. He was there's stories like that forever that I could tell you.
So Jerry Lee Lewis really didn't know what he was getting into when he showed up at Graceland.
No, he did not.
Elvis would have disarmed him.
Man.
I will say that's how anytime one of my artists wears a jumpsuit, in order to like test it, I go, "Can you do karate in this jumpsuit? Because if you can't comfortably, you can't wear it." You never know. You might need to break it out on stage. So I test out all my jumpsuits. I had on one before I came, and I split the crotch in it. So can't do the
doing a roundhouse kick and split the crotch.
I don't think I could anyway, but
Well, he was he was 7th brigade black belt. I mean, he was amazing.
Wow.
There wasn't anything he couldn't do with his feet. He was fast, powerful, because that's what took up his time in the Army, was being able to put all of his time and effort into that, and that made the time go quicker.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if you're the only person to ever point a gun at Elvis Presley.
I don't know.
Once again, casual, drop it, walk out of the room.
Yeah.
I didn't know that story.
I probably was the only one. I don't know. I don't know, but I never thought about that. But that's,
Thanks,
probably was.
Yeah. You can add that to the resume.
Yeah.
Check.
Well, how did you get into the record industry as an executive?
Well, I went to work for a record distributor in Memphis called Hotline Record Distributors, and I would take the records to the radio stations and when they would come in. And so I started off in promotion that way, and then Stax Records offered me a job to become national promotion director in their album division. And so I went to work for Stax for a few years, and then after that I got drafted by RCA. They came after me. They sent a headhunter after me to see if I'd come to RCA, and I did. I made the move from Stax to RCA and stayed there a few years. And so I really just happened to be at the right place at the right time and was able to go to the radio stations and push records, and I guess I did a good enough job that they felt like they wanted me to come to work for them at Stax.
That is something I learned from being your kid, though.
What?
Was that you're always in the right place at the right time, even when you think that you're not.
Yeah.
And wherever you are, do the best job that you can. So
Absolutely.
I didn't get an allowance. When I was 17, I basically got sat down and said, you can go to college or you can move out, but you're not staying here. So I think that a lot of people, Nashville is a little different than like LA or New York, but like that whole Nepo baby thing gets thrown around. But I got a white refrigerator and a rental house, so I don't got none of that. But I would want to do something creative, but hadn't like paid my dues, hadn't done enough yet. But I always just kind of thought, okay, well, everything ends up the way it's supposed to.
Yep.
You always end up in the right place at the right time. You never
Right.
know what next step's going to lead to something else.
Right.
So when I was waiting tables, he was like, you never know who you're going to meet.
True.
Show up, do the best job that you can.
Very true.
And it worked out for me. Not
Well,
that
life's that way. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just,
you could give me little nepotism. Just, can I have maybe a black refrigerator?
I wish I could take credit for anything you've done, but I can't. You are self-made.
I don't even get to name drop because our last names are different. Never got to.
Well, I know who you are.
That's true.
And that means the world to me. I mean, if
You know what? I lied. I did drop your name once.
Did you? And did it help you?
No, it did. So my husband Tobin was playing with Ray Wiley in Memphis, and he was meeting up with them to go do like a little bus run. And Ray goes, "Oh, just have Payton drive you to Memphis." And
That water.
can you reach it?
Yeah.
I got it. He goes, "Just have Payton take you to Memphis, and she can turn back home." And I go, "Oh, I think I got a place to crash. No big deal." So they play the show. I wasn't on this show yet. They play the show, and Ray goes, "Oh, we're going to go to the Holiday Inn. Where are you staying?" And I go, "Oh, I have a room." Tobin goes, "Tell them where the room is." And I go, "I'm staying at the guest house at Graceland." So they're in their little Holiday Inn, and I'm having like peanut butter and banana sandwiches brought to me on a silver tray because I'm like, TG Sheppard's my dad. And they're like, okay.
Oh, God.
It's the only time, and it worked out really well. Sorry, I was watching Clam Bake.
You
with
can
my
use
peanut
my
butter
name
banana
anytime
sandwich.
you want. If it'll help you in any
I
way.
tipped really well, so
I
hope
brag
I
on
made
you more
proud.
than you brag on me.
No.
Oh, no. No.
Do you remember the first time that you got asked if you were my dad instead of the other way around? Like,
Yeah.
that was the funniest thing. Tell Dylan that story.
What?
It was at an airport, and someone came up to you, and you were like ready to do the whole like, "Oh yeah, that's who I am." They're like, "Are you Peyton's dad?"
Oh no! I get that all the time. I get that every week. I'll be somewhere and somebody will walk up and go, "Aren't you Peyton's dad?" And I'm going, "Why, yes, I am." Oh, I get it all the time. I mean, she's got quite a following.
Yeah.
My little style cult.
I'll brag on you for a second, Peyton.
Oh no.
Please do.
She has just such a great personality.
Yeah.
And so, like, when me and my other friend Holiday do our lives, and Peyton pops in, it's the greatest thing. And I always tell Holiday, like, if we ever get like a legitimate radio show or something, Peyton is coming in as one of the hosts because
She'd be incredible.
We might get kicked off the radio very quickly because we
Possibly.
Yeah.
get into left field sometimes. It goes from country music to
Oh God.
way out there.
There was someone the other night in one of their joint lives that was having a baby, and we were all like throwing out names to name this baby, and it got really weird. It did. We were throwing out like Waylon and Merle and like all this stuff, and then what was the other one? We're like, oh, name it Paycheck.
Yeah.
Name it like all this weird stuff, and it got real raunchy.
You
real
know,
quick.
they messaged me after that, so we legitimately
name a
named
baby?
someone's baby. Yeah, they were like, we think we're going to go with Waylon.
Oh, okay.
So-
Wow.
That's okay. That's not the worst one that we had.
Yeah.
We did tell them we were going to make them a basket and send to them. By
I
the way,
said Humperdinck,
Humperdinck.
baby Humperdinck.
Wow.
There was a lot. We have fun in there.
Yeah, you
It's
never
really fun.
know. There's some people just pop in and they're like, hey, we're having a baby. What do you think we should name
Yeah.
it? And then it turns into an hour of naming this child.
Naming this while listening to music back and forth. It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's we have fun. But all because someone tagged me on his videos. Was that your dad? It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's crazy how the world
I
works.
love the
and
internet. It's my
everybody's
Yeah.
favorite place.
connected.
What? I have a weird question for you because I've never
Uh-oh.
asked.
What?
Because I've done the Graceland tour now like 4 times. Where was your room when you stayed there?
It was down in the soda fountain.
If I were to
Down
walk
where the-
through the house, where would it be? Walk me through
Downstairs where the soda fountain is, where the 3 TVs are on the room. I'd sleep down there.
it. In the
Yeah.
TV room
Yeah.
where the monkeys and stuff are?
Yeah. Yeah.
Across from the pool room?
Yeah. As time went on, Elvis built. Now that's part of the museum of the house is the garage area, but there was a time that the garage was bedrooms for the mafia, for the guys, because Elvis he just liked to have his people around. I mean, Elvis lived a very threatening type of life.
Well, if his friends are shooting guns at him,
well, I didn't shoot him now. I didn't shoot him. But I mean, there was a lot of threats that came through every day or so, and it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Really
I could imagine. Yeah. I really couldn't imagine living a life like Elvis Presley lived. I don't think there'll ever be anything like it again.
No, there never will. There never will be. I really and truly feel that the big success, the one thing that made Elvis so big so quickly was he was, I think, one of the first products of television.
Yeah.
From the Dorsey show to Milton Berle to Sinatra.
Was Milton the one where they couldn't show him from?
No, that was Ed Sullivan. And he reached so many people so quickly.
Ed Sullivan being famous now?
He
is so boring.
Oh, I know. He's pretty dry. He was big.
Huge Beatles fan, and there's a Beatles tribute. They're like, we tour around with our own Ed Sullivan. Why?
Yeah.
He's so boring. And now Elvis Presley.
Yeah, that was it.
In his little suit.
Yeah. But I mean, but Elvis really and truly, those television shows, he reached millions of people. And before television, there wasn't anything that gave you the opportunity to reach that many people that quickly. So therefore, he became an overnight sensation because of television.
So once he realized that you were TG Sheppard, and I'm sure even before that, he was very encouraging to you, bought you a bus and things like that. Another person that was encouraging to you was Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
He really wanted you to pursue a career in your own music.
He was the main reason that I really started out on the journey. We were in a hotel room. Of course, I was on tour with him a lot because he was my artist at RCA. And he and Jesse and I would be sitting around a lot of times, and he'd pull the guitar out, and he'd just start singing, backstage or in a hotel suite. And I'd sing along, and one night I started singing along with him, and he looked up at me and he said, "Hoss, you need to give up this record job and become a country singer." And I said, "Oh, man, no." He said, "I'm telling you, you need to do it." Well, I don't know why I took that advice, but a few weeks later I was in the studio one night and recorded Devil in the Bottle. Bam.
So 12-year-old Dylan could feel his big feelings on the way home.
Yeah, sulking.
Trekking
as
through
I
the
walked
snow
home.
with his little backpack. Is that kid an alcoholic? Is he okay? Is he all right? Is he well?
Yeah, Waylon was one of the ones that encouraged me early on to try it, and I did.
I saw you talking about Waylon with Tracy Lawrence on his podcast.
Yeah.
And you said something that Tracy was, because he incorporates music with his, he was getting on to the next song. But you said that you and Waylon got into an argument. And I was thinking, come on, what was this about? Do you remember talking about that?
Well, I got into arguments with Waylon all the time. I mean, I got into one of the biggest fights with him in Las Vegas one time that I'm telling you the truth. I knew that the next day I was going to get a pink slip. I knew I was fired. Because, I mean, was I what?
Did he fire you?
No.
Oh.
No, but I thought I would get fired because I really screamed back at him.
You don't scream.
I don't. But he was really messing up, and it was almost showtime, and he just, I don't know, he just in one of those moods, and he'd had some substances or
I've never
alcohol
heard
or
you
something.
raise your voice, so that's
But he,
crazy.
I was upset because I had flown in a lot of music directors and program directors to Vegas to the show, and I really didn't think he was going to make the show. And so I called the label the next morning, and I said, "You're going to have to get somebody out here to help straighten him up." I said, "He's just, I'm worried."
Yeah.
But I didn't lose my job, and I think Waylon respected the fact that I really cared for him enough to say something to him about, what was going on. But he was a strong force in my life. Waylon was one of the neatest guys to ever hang around in the world. Was Waylon.
His wife had a great haircut.
Yes, she did, Jesse. Oh, yeah. Yes, she did. And I saw Jesse not long ago, and but yeah, Waylon was one that encouraged me first.
Yeah, that's great. I'd imagine you met a lot of people though when you were doing the record executive role.
Yeah.
Who were some of those people that really stood out to you? That maybe became a friend or?
Oh, there were a lot of them. Mm-hmm. A lot of them. One of my greatest friendships for almost 50 years has been Lionel Richie. Mm-hmm. I had just been signed to Motown, and he had just joined the Commodores. Mm. And believe it or not, Lionel was on his way to become a preacher.
Really?
He was going to preach. He had...
The gospel according to Brickhouse?
Yes, right, absolutely. And he had gotten the calling, and then all of a sudden they call him to join the Commodores. And he turned left instead of right, and he made the right decision.
Yeah.
Let the church say amen.
Yeah.
He really... But Lionel is one, and we've stayed friends through the years. John Fogerty. Mm-hmm. Wow, there's been so many. John Denver was a close friend. So it's
the people that you casually, like, I'll say something like, "Oh yeah, I saw this movie," or blah blah blah, and you go, "Oh yeah, I'm friends with them." So Tobin is really into like old westerns, and he's got a stamp, or had a stamp, of Clint Eastwood on the back of one of his guitars. And he goes, "You ever heard the song I did with Clint Eastwood?" Once again, just casual dropping in of an iconic name. Or like you said that you were at they were at some party, I forget what it was for, and being the big Monty Python fan that I was, my mom called me so I could speak to Eric Idle from Python, but it was like William Shatner and like Brad Paisley. We
were at Scott Hamilton's 50th birthday party in Los Angeles.
But just, oh, here's this guy that you really like, and we're 2 degrees away from him. It's weird to me because my life
Meatloaf was there that day too.
Yeah, Mom got him to sign my Rocky Horror DVD. Yeah. She had no clue the significance of it, but she did anyway.
Everybody loves Scott Hamilton. Being an Olympian, I mean, wow, what a talented guy Scott is. Yeah. And he's like family. Yeah. And matter of fact, he's married to my cousin. And all those people just happened to be at the party that day. I look up
weird time.
I look up in the island of the kitchen, and there stands William Shatner, and I'm going, Captain Kirk. Yeah. And then of course Brad Paisley I already knew, but Eric, I mean, there was just so many people that loved to be around Scott.
Yeah.
It's just the Olympian. Weird.
Yeah.
Oh, the best one I have. This is a recent one. So when he does the Opry, you only do is it 2 or 3 songs? You do 2 or 3 songs, and then it's a bunch of people. It's a bunch of people stacked on. I normally like to kind of tag along and go. You don't have to commit to a full concert. You can kind of go and support and go home. And I called him and I said, "Hey, I'd like to go see you on the Opry on that night." And normally it's not a big deal. And sometimes my artists that I work for are on the same night, and it really works out well. He goes, "I'm so sorry, Payton. We gave your pass to Bob, Kid Rock." So in my very normal brain, I'm going, on what planet? You go, "Sorry, you can't come see your dad at work today. Kid Rock's going to go instead of you." And I'm like, dude, I should be in therapy a little bit more.
Well, Bobby... Of course, Kid Rock is Bobby Ritchie.
Yeah.
And
Bob's going. Oh, is he? Okay.
Bob's mom was a very big TG Sheppard fan.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up with TG Sheppard music in the house. So that's why, not just me, but Bob Ritchie, Kid Rock, is a huge country fan. And one of the greatest guys with one of the biggest hearts ever.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Sorry, Peyton. Bob's coming.
Bob's got your ticket.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
But that night, matter of fact, when he came to the Opry, I invited him out. I invited him up on stage to sing Party Time with me, and he got on stage and sang with me that night. I didn't know that it was his Opry debut. I made a bigger deal out of it. I thought he'd been it many times before, but he never had been on stage singing.
Really?
And it was
At the Opry?
quite, the crowd went absolutely bananas.
That's something.
I mean, they love this guy because he marches to his own drum.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be a unique upbringing, though, Peyton.
It's not until I start talking to friends of mine who didn't grow up here. It's really normal. So, growing up here, a lot of my friends are like second generation, third generation, because my grandfather was a tour manager. Mm-hmm. So I already kind of had like a weird in, like all the Twitty grandkids, I call them my cousins because I work for them now. Mm-hmm. And I already had that going for me. So if it's not like someone whose kids are artist kids or they're producers' kids, like there's some connection here if you grew up here. So it's not that weird until I leave Nashville.
Right.
So my mom's going through all these like pictures and stuff. She's kind of going through like a big cleaning out stuff. And there's pictures of me with George Jones, like me with Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then now I didn't, at that time, I just knew George as the dog food guy. Which is awful, but I did because my grandfather worked for him during that time period, and he was just the guy that sold dog food. He was really nice, but I was like, oh, we're going to go to Albertsons to see the dog food man, not like George Jones. Yeah. And Johnny Cash, when he passed away, I was pretty young still, and I couldn't grasp the magnitude of Johnny Cash, but and we've talked about this on your live. Do you remember when I was going to elementary school, I would pass by Johnny Cash's house on the way to elementary school. Uh-huh. We would be late all the time because peacocks would be out. Yeah. So we'd have to let them cross the street.
Yeah.
So the peacock man, not the man in black.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. And then I like old country music. I gravitate towards it, but I'm a rock pop girl. And always have been. So like my first crush was Davy Jones from the Monkees. I didn't I couldn't grasp any of this and the magnitude of it because it just felt normal.
Right.
And then I met my best friend 15, 16 years ago at a music festival in Louisville. And we were starting to talk, and it's a week long. What do you do? Well, I'm from Kansas City, and my mom's this and my dad's this. And I was like, oh yeah, my parents are in the music business. Oh, what did they do? Like, oh, my mom's a singer-songwriter, and yeah, and then singer-songwriters. And she's like, oh, would I know their names? I'm like, I don't think so. TG Sheppard. And she goes, my grandmother had a shirtless picture of him in the dining room my entire life. And I'm like, oh.
Here we go again.
But lo and behold, we ended up taking her and her whole family to Kansas City to see him. Mm-hmm. And like, she's had a baby. So like the baby's first sound check was his. And like, it's really cool. But when I step outside, I'm like, oh, this is not normal. It's not normal at all for your like parents to be around these people, because I was raised really normal. I did public school. I had to work from the time I was 15 on. If I wanted anything, I'd have to pay for it myself. Like, I didn't have any of those like bratty perks. I don't think that I had anything.
You didn't.
No, I had to like wait tables, come home smelling like garlic every night. But it was like, once you get out of it and you're like, oh, it's not normal that these people were around. Mm-hmm. It's not normal that like Grammy winners and legends and icons are just like a call away. It's not normal.
But
and
to us, it is, you know.
And now it's, now I work for a lot of them. And it's funny because I'll be on set and I don't mention anything to anybody because our last names are different. I've kind of built my own thing going. Mm-hmm. And I was on set of a music video last year, and it was one of my rappers that I work for, and he had a big entourage with him. And there was a couple guys in there that are into country, and your song came on shuffle in like the dressing room, like we were all getting ready in. And I just kind of smiled. And then the guy was like, oh, you like TG Sheppard? And I'm like, yeah. And the makeup artist knew me, and she starts laughing. She goes, that's her dad. And he goes, oh my God. That's amazing. Yeah. But so it's interesting. Or like in your case, hey, isn't that your dad? And I'm like, I'm just scrolling TikTok. I'm just folding laundry. Yeah, it is. Like,
aren't you Payton's dad?
Yeah. Aren't
I know
you?
the feeling.
Mm-hmm. Aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fantastic, though, because I think a lot of people, not just children of famous people, but children of rich people and such, I think their parents do them a huge disservice by giving them everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Wait, we were rich?
Were we?
Were we? I think the big thing that I learned from being in a music business family is running my own business and then being married to a musician is that it's feast or famine, and you have to be patient, and you have to work really hard, and you have to be diligent about all of that. And I think that you guys were honest with me about the struggles that I would come up against.
Yeah.
And like, there are going to be months where like, you're not going to pay your rent.
Yeah.
And you got to suck it up and figure it out. And it helped me a lot.
Well, I always tell you that, if you're having a great day, embrace it, because, great days, after that comes sometimes bad days. And you have to realize that when you're having the great days, they're fleeting and it doesn't last forever. And then when you're having the bad days, they don't last forever either. Yeah. So just stay true, dig in, it'll pass, and then the great day will come back. So, no, we've always tried to.
From school, listening to Devil in a Bottle, being all sad.
Yeah, that was a low.
It was a bad day.
That was a low. Yeah, life is like a wave.
Some days it's party time, and some days it's Devil in a Bottle.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. There's a TG Sheppard song for everything.
Wow. Payton, you're funny.
Were you at RCA when Waylon stole Nipper?
Yes.
What was that conversation? I've always wondered, what's the where'd Nipper go?
Well, he just took
Wait,
it.
the live Nipper?
No,
the statue.
The statue. Waylon was that way. Waylon marched to his own drum. If he saw something he wanted, he took it. And he felt like he made the record company enough money that, hey, I want that, I'll just take it.
Do you know what's weird about Nipper?
What?
So my friend Graham, he owns RCA Victor. So like he's up in New Jersey, and he's like rebuilt the whole brand. And he found the dog Nipper, now no longer living, but her remains.
Wow.
I don't know how he got there. I appreciate that he did. So he has this big memorial erected to Nipper, like the original. And then he went and did some nerdy thing and found like a dog from that bloodline. So there is an in-person live Nipper again at RCA.
Wow.
That's wild.
I never knew that.
And I keep going, if you ever want to get rid of her,
God,
I think I need her.
That's wild. That goes all the way back to, I think, 1895.
It's hundreds of years old. I don't know how he found her, but he posted one day, I got Nipper's home. I'm like, it's another dog. You got her bones?
Yeah.
Okay. I support it.
Better watch it around the Jennings.
Right. That's why I was like, did he steal her? Is that how we had to get her back? Yeah.
That's funny.
Casually just decided to steal the big statue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they ask for it back?
I think he brought it back. I can't remember if he did or not, but I think he did. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I can just imagine a receptionist or whoever was at the front and going out.
Is that Waylon Jennings?
Well, Waylon was a practical joker too. Mm-hmm. I mean, he loved to laugh, and he loved to play practical jokes. So anything he did just didn't surprise me at all. Really, he was just a very unique individual who just, as I say, marched his own drum and had no fear for anything.
Yeah. Well, I do have a question from one of our Patreon supporters.
Oh, okay.
Charlie Johnson asks, of all of your songs, which one is your favorite?
Wow, that's like saying which child is your favorite. I enjoy Slow Burn because Jim Ed Norman, who was producing the Eagles, produced that record, and
it does have a very Eagles feel
it does.
to it.
The harmonies in it do. He even told me, he said, "I found this song for you. If you'll record it, I think we can do some Eagle type harmonies that would really make it a number one record for you." And he was right. But "Party Time" was one of those songs that just lives forever. Mm-hmm. And a funny story about "Party Time" was I was in the room called the Vault where the tapes were. And I was digging in looking for some songs for an album. And I pulled out this tape that said "Party Time" on it. Woo. And I heard it and I said, wow, that's a hit. And I went into my record producer, Buddy Killen at the time, who owned Tree Publishing. And I said, I found a hit. He said, can't cut that one. I said, why? He said, Jerry Lee's cutting it tomorrow. I said, man, are you serious? He said, yeah, he's got it on hold. Well, the next day I checked and Jerry Lee didn't cut it. I rushed in. I ran into the studio and cut it, and it became Jukebox Record of the Year in 1981. So, but no, there are a few like that. Slow Burn, Party Time, Loved 'Em Everyone, Finally. There's a few that kind of stick out that I enjoy doing in concert more than others.
When I think of a standard in country music, I think of songs that you walk into any country bar and the band's going to play that song. Yeah. And I think Party Time has really become a standard in country music.
Yeah.
The best thing that I've had in a long time, I've experienced by proxy in a long time, is they were on was it that Opry cruise or something, and your guitar player was sick. So Tobin, Mr. Payton, as the TikTokers know him, gets a FaceTime call from our friend who's on the boat. He goes, I'm hammered, and your dad just asked me to play his set. Can you teach me Party Time? So on FaceTime, our friend's in the ocean, drunk, with his guitar, and Tobin grabs his guitar, and he was like, okay, so I don't know the Nashville number system, but he does. So he was like, okay, then it's 3, and then you're going to... So he's teaching our very drunk friend how to play Party Time in our living room, and Gabe nailed it. He did a great job.
He did do a great job.
But he was like, okay, guys, thank you so much, and then hung up. And I go, what was that about? And he goes, I don't know. And just walked off.
I remember it, though. Yeah, that was a few years ago.
Party Time.
Yeah.
Can you teach me Party Time? And then Tobin was like, yeah, I got it. It's a fun one for them to play, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they're all like, as I said, they're all like children. It's hard to pick a favorite one, song, because they all are so much magic to your life, every song does. And to have had as many number ones as we've had.
I'm sorry, how many? 22?
22.
Okay.
Number ones. Incredible.
It's,
And for some reason, not in the Hall of Fame?
It's okay.
Oh, don't get me started. You already know where
Don't get me started on it.
You don't know.
No.
You already know where I stand on that. So
I haven't gotten to that level yet. No.
What do they want?
I doubt
you
that,
to find the cure for cancer?
Do what?
You need to find the cure for cancer before you can be in here. Yeah, no. Not an Opry member, not a Hall of Fame member.
Everyone gets their chance eventually. So
this is my
it doesn't upset me at all. I've never been one that based my career on awards or accolades. I've based my success on the people and the fans that love the music.
Right.
That's the most important.
I am petitioning now for everyone to get you into the Hall of Fame.
No,
I am.
Never happened.
Well, I am. So
never happened.
When have I ever listened to you? So I think you deserve to be there. 22 number one hits is nothing to sneeze at.
Absolutely. Wow. I agree with Payton 100% on this.
That's okay.
See, I'm right.
I've talked about it before that you should be in there. Gene Watson.
I know.
Should be in there.
I've seen what you said. Yeah.
A lot of folks. They just need to do a year where they catch all of those people who
catch up, like Pokemon.
Just left behind. I mean, Johnny Horton's not in there. That is crazy to me. But
there's a lot of people. I mean, and people think I'm a member of the Opry because I played a lot, but I'm not. And there's a lot of people that's not members of the Opry. Kenny Rogers was not a member of the Opry.
Isn't that insane?
I mean, that's wild. The Judds.
Yeah, they just did this big tribute to Naomi, and she wasn't a member.
Right.
It's crazy.
So, I truly feel that if there's some areas in your career that you don't attain certain things, it's made up to you in other areas.
Yeah.
I would sacrifice every award and accolade to have longevity. And I have had longevity. So who's to say that if the awards had come earlier, would I still be here? Would I have reached the pinnacle and fallen out?
That's true.
Conway used to say that. He'd say, I love being the underdog because that means I'll always be out here working and hoping and dreaming that something can still happen. So, no. It's been made up to me in a lot of ways to have longevity instead of the accolades.
Yeah, that's true.
Fine.
That the show I saw you at a few months ago, it was a packed house, and then you came down and you and Miss Kelly, y'all signed autographs for a line of people, and it was a lot. It was, I think y'all were there for probably 45 minutes or an hour, just extra signing autographs and taking pictures with
Well,
folks.
it's important to sign autographs and be with the people and thank them one-on-one for coming to your show and supporting you through your career. I mean, I enjoy the autograph sessions just as much as I do performing.
You say that until you are their kid and you've got to work one.
No. No.
No, everyone's usually pretty nice. I hear some, I had a crush on your daddy, bet, and I'm like, la 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 la.
That's got to be the
Small or
weirdest
medium,
thing.
ma'am. Can I help you? How
Are
many
you Payton's dad?
That's got to be strange, being around people and like, I had a crush, the biggest crush on your dad.
Did you?
But
So
it
did my
probably
mom.
happens a lot.
Great. Yeah, it's fine. At least you're not ugly.
Well, it's been a heck of a ride. I mean, 50 years and counting, and I still have to pinch myself every day to make sure that it's still not just a dream, because I've been blessed far beyond what I should have had in my life. I've been very fortunate, and I'm very, very lucky and blessed.
Yeah. Another artist I'd love to touch on that I've heard you talk about that you had a relationship with was Jerry Reed.
Yeah.
You did some work with him when you were at RCA, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I worked with Jerry. He was my artist at RCA. We took Amos Moses, and She Got the Gold Man, I Got the Shaft, those great records. Okay. And we were friends for years. We toured together. We did shows together. We were in business together. We built office buildings and movie theaters and owned restaurants and softball teams, and he was a joy to be around. And just one of the funniest guys that ever put on a pair of shoes. I mean, I loved him deeply. Still think of him every day, and when I hear his name, he brings a smile to my face. I really loved him. He was a great guy, and he was a devout Christian guy. A lot of people didn't know that about him. He was just one of the good guys.
Such a charismatic
Oh,
guy, too. One of the only people to ever get one over on
Bert.
Colonel Tom Parker.
Oh, Parker.
Yeah.
Which one was that? Which?
The Guitar Man, when
Oh,
Elvis
yeah.
wanted to cut it and he didn't give up his rights.
No,
Because nobody could produce the same guitar licks.
No, Jerry was one of the greatest session musicians before he became a star. He was in high demand, and I always loved to just sit down and hear him pick and sing and tell stories. Great storyteller.
Speaking of Colonel Parker, did you ever have any run-ins with the Colonel?
I worked with the Colonel for years.
Did you?
At RCA, and he really and truly was a big believer in Elvis in the beginning, and then of course through his whole career. But a lot of people felt that it was a little one-sided. But I never questioned Elvis's judgment on having him as a manager, because Elvis used to say that without Colonel, I never would have been a star. Now, who's to say that's true or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
sorry, that was a pants emergency.
okay.
I have a gig after we're done.
Colonel Parker was a very rough guy who demanded things be done his way.
Mm-hmm.
And he intimidated me a lot, at RCA, because I lived in fear of if I didn't make him happy, then he would get me fired. So,
right.
And he could have,
Yeah, the movie. Have you seen the Elvis movie that came out a couple of years ago? It definitely painted him as a very crude businessman.
Yeah.
Would you say that it kind of was accurate, or?
I think it was accurate, and I love the fact that it was from Tom Hanks, who played Colonel Parker, from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was pretty accurate. I wish they had showed two sides of Elvis that really wasn't as strong in the movie as it should have been, was his humorous side. He was a funny guy, loved to laugh and loved practical jokes, and his Christian side.
I think they did that in the Priscilla movie a little bit better.
Yeah, I think so too.
I didn't care for the Elvis movie, the first one. I think that we saw more of what you've told me his personality was like in the Priscilla movie.
Yep. He was a very deep kind of guy. But there's no ego with Elvis. He was just always the same.
Yeah. Well, Payton, while you were gone, we only talked bad about you a little bit.
That's okay.
So. Yeah.
No, I have a
but
gig.
we can cut that part out.
That's fine. I have a gig in a few hours, and there was a pants emergency. They're like,
pants emergencies are the worst kind of emergencies.
I get them all day long. The stuff I have to keep up in my head, I'll forget to turn the stove off, but I know 38 people's inseams. Works out really well for me.
We have a special segment here at the end. I think we're getting pretty close to the end of our regular segment.
Okay.
Unless there's anything you want to add, TG.
What about the new album that you've got with Mom?
Well, the Chemistry album, the duet album, is out now, and we're real proud of that. I love performing with Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Who took the picture for the album cover?
Trey Twitty.
Nepotism.
Mm-hmm. Great photographer, great eye. But no, singing with Kelly, and I'm proud of Kelly because she was just received a proclamation from Governor Lee that her song Under a Tennessee Moon has become the new state song.
That's awesome.
So she wrote the new state song. And
I made fun of her, though, because anytime Mom would help me with history homework, I would fail. So she's going to be in history books. And I go, I hope those kids don't fail. Oh.
Well, I tell you, your mom is just, she's just like Payton. I mean, I look at Payton and I see Kelly, and I look at Kelly and I see Payton, because they're just multifaceted people who are brilliant and who are kind and loving and just has it so together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really works hard. And but singing with Kelly and doing the new album Chemistry was a labor of love for us. We picked our favorite songs that we've loved for years and years and years and put them on a new album, and I hope people will pick up on it. You can check anything out at tgsheppard.com or kellylane.net, or check out our YouTube channels or Facebook or Twitter.
You're on TikTok now, aren't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So just go check us out.
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah, check it out everywhere, and of course stream all the old stuff too, all the hits. Yeah. You got a ton of them. If any young folks are listening to this and you're dealing with detention,
there's a devil in a bottle.
Devil in the bottle will get you through it.
It's a Gatorade
funny,
bottle,
Dylan.
but there's a devil in it.
It'll get you through it.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Drifting Cowboy Podcast. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like to see more from TG and Payton and have a chance to win an autographed album from TG, go check out our Patreon. Thanks for listening, and I appreciate y'all.